Alrighty, we are rocking and rolling. Charlynda Scales, thank you so much for being here. Welcome everybody, one-on-one profiles and audacity, carrying on a generation of good taste. An Air Force veteran brings the sauce. How are you?
I'm great, David. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. This is an amazing moment, and I want to hold space with everyone here with us. Invite you to spend some time and really just be encouraged because I think that's really what the message is, right? So, before we kind of went live, we talked about Dave Chappelle, one of my favorite comedians, and he has a skill that in one of his specials, I don't know if you saw this, Charlinda, he actually said, I'm going to give you the punchline up front, and you're still not going to see it coming. And he did a whole routine and told him up front what the punchline was. And when he got to the point, he said the punchline, and no one saw it coming. So I say
Wow.
that to say, in Dave Chappelle vibe, the punchline here is that what you see on the screen right now are two veterans that are no different than you. What we've been able to do, you can do as well. And hopefully, this brings encouragement to you because the take home message here is to be inspirational, but be tangible for you all watching this. So that's the punchline. So get ready for it.
Well,
Charlinda, tell us a little bit about yourself, branch of service, when you served, and we'll kind of start there.
I am an Air Force veteran, and I was unintentional, I would say, unintentional Air Force member. I am a fourth generation veteran. My grandfather was a Korean Vietnam War veteran, and he talked to us about service. I grew up with him, living with him and my grandparents and my mom. And I learned about, what it was like to be all over the world. He lived in Okinawa, Japan, everywhere. When I was in high school, though, I wanted to play sports. That's all I wanted to do. And I tore my ACL in the first game of soccer
Uh
season.
oh.
So I was trying to scramble, put my life back together, and this kid was filling out an Air Force ROTC scholarship application in class. I took it from him out of boredom because he's like, I couldn't. He didn't feel qualified, so I was like, well, let me just see if I can fill it out. I filled it out, turned it into my guidance counselor. She turned it in. And next thing I know, I had a full ride to any college I wanted to go to. I just owed them 4 years of service. I went back and told my granddad, I was like, yeah, you go in, you're like a second lieutenant or something. And he just lost it. He's like, what? You're going to be a second lieutenant?
You could be
So
an officer.
back then, he got the rank of tech sergeant, and even that rank was hard to attain in the enlisted ranks. He was in for over 20 years. And I didn't understand the importance until I'm looking at him and the pride in his eyes that this legacy is continuing on. And I really got serious about it. So when I went to college, I was really serious about what I'm going to do and the impact I was going to make while I was in the service. I served for 10 years on active duty. I recently went into the reserves again. So I crossed over in 2015 because I was trying to do active duty and run mutt sauce at the same time, which is insane. We'll talk about that. But
So you're like literally like just juggling and bouncing all the stuff and goodness
yeah,
gracious.
so I did that for a while. And then I just had a baby this past year in March of 2020.
Congrats.
Yeah. But then TRICARE sent me a huge bill. I was like, what is this for? They're like, oh, your service is expired. If you want to go back in, you got to go to the recruiter's office. I was like, are you kidding me? All right. You think I won't do it?
Yeah.
And I went to the recruiter's office in April of last year, rose my right hand at the recruiter's office, and went back in the military. So that's my history of service.
Wow. So there's a few things that I think are worthy of highlight is, and a question for you. You come from a generation of service, and I loved how you touched on the pride, right? That at the moment you really didn't think because it's like, oh, well, I got a full ride, and I'll come out and I'll serve, and I'll come out as a lieutenant, and it's just kind of like, wait, what did you just say? And that really kind of made it more real for you. How did it feel for you coming from so many generations of service, having to I guess, did you feel you had to live up to something? Was it pressure for you? How did all that feel?
To be a fourth generation veteran,
Yes.
it's very humbling,
Mm.
very humbling. Uh, my grandfather, he said, if you can't give it everything you have, you need to step aside.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably why
Mm-hmm.
uh, my career I did so well, because I just was thinking about, you have to give everything
Yes.
at every minute, you give it all.
Now,
And that was from his influence, really.
now, did you find yourself having that pressure? No, I would say pressure, but that challenge a little bit, right? Is that something you found that you've used in your other endeavors in life? Because there's so many other things you've done after service, and you have the hat on. We're gonna talk about mud sauce and kind of you stepping into that space, which is in and of itself just a whole different conversation that we could spend an hours on. I'm sure you've encountered challenges and being able to deal with setbacks and rising to the occasion, right? All the things that people would say, but being able to kind of start off, right, in your adulthood, right, going into college and then going into service and so forth, and having that. I'm sure there's obviously traits and characteristics that you've gained, right, from being, from having family, from all those generations of service. So it's not like, hey, I'm going to join the military, and it's like, all right, good luck, have a good one. And it's kind of like Gramps pulls you over and be like, look, we don't do this, right? And it's just like, oh, wait a second, we got expectations already set in place. For you, how do you deal, I guess is the question I'm asking, with challenges? Because that's, it's a friendly challenge saying, hey, you can do this, I'm pushing you and holding you accountable. Either you do this or don't do this at all, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that lesson obviously can be applicable in other places, whether it be businesses, whether it be engagements or speaking in events and things like that, where it's like, okay, this is kind of something kind of serious, I'll
Mm-hmm.
wing it. Maybe like, no wing it, you either give it your all or you get out of here. How
Right.
does Charlinda process that in her mind?
Well, it's just the attitude of, this is bigger than you.
Mm.
Right? So your actions don't just affect you, your decisions don't just affect you. At the time, he was trying to hammer home, like, this is not just a representation of you going in as an officer. This is, our family's called the Farrells. The
Mm-hmm.
Farrell family is carrying on a legacy into a fourth generation of service. And when we put our name on something, it will be good.
Mm.
And
Mm.
you'll know that it's high quality. And so that bled into entrepreneurship, because I was like, I'm putting my family's name on this. It's
Yes.
called Mud Sauce. It's named after his military call sign for his ability to blend in anywhere. So it
Mm.
really got his name on it.
So
And
so you know what, I'm looking at this on the side, and we just gotta make a jump real quick because you're saying you're talking about it. Talk to me about what I'm seeing since 1956 mud sauce, because again with that story, with the preface in place, the preamble that you just said, now it makes sense. Because if we just start and says, "Oh look, I have mud sauce," like, wait a second, no. We just talked about service. We just talked about what that meant, and now that transition over, that name is on a bottle, right? So it's not just, "Oh, Charlynda, do you guarantee that this is the good stuff right here?" Now people are seeing this here since service, the legacy. That I just love the fact, it took 7 years, but Great Flavors takes time. We hope you enjoyed the deluxe line of spices. Like, that the fact of legacy and everything you have in there. Again, just reading the site, Charlie Mutt Farrell. He didn't just hand his granddaughter a sheet of paper. He handed her a continued service and family legacy. What does
yes,
that mean to you? Like, that's so powerful.
it's everything. And humility is what guides us, right? He told me, when you're doing anything, humility will take you further than money. So we place humility above monetary gain.
Mm.
And I've been in rooms with millionaires. I've stood on stages where everybody was a multimillionaire except for me, and people just marvel that they don't care how you got there. They just remember that you were there. They're like, you were there. How did you know? But it wasn't because I had a super rich family or a multi-million-dollar company. It's
Mm-hmm.
because I humbled myself and said, I'm
Mm.
appreciative for any opportunity to tell our story. Like today, I'm humbled
Mm.
by this opportunity to tell our story about our family. The whole story about Mud Sauce is about my grandfather's dedication to serve his country, about his passion to make a sauce that he thought would be useful for people because we ate it all the time. He finally had the last recipe, the final recipe in 1956 is when he got it right. So
Mm.
that's how long it's been in our family. Now, it's only been a company since 2013. Started it while I was on active duty. But I wanted to let people know that when you taste it, you're tasting generations of, trial and error. That's how long I was like, we didn't beta test it because our family's been eating it forever.
Mm-hmm.
And if you like it, you'll like it. It's straight from 1956 with no chaser. I didn't change the original recipe at all. I made variations of it, but we didn't change it. We just left it as it is. So people will ask us, well, can you change it to gluten free? No, but we'll make a gluten free version.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Will you change it to vegan? Well, we didn't try to make it vegan. Maybe in his foresight, it was already vegan friendly.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have to change that. It separates, so it's a hybrid of hot sauce and barbecue, is how I describe it. It's thicker than hot sauce, but thinner than barbecue.
Okay.
One of the ingredients that gives it a unique flavor is soy sauce, which is I think, his influence from being over in Asia so long.
Mm-hmm.
But on the shelf, if it sits there for a minute, it separates kind of like Italian dressing. People in the food industry are like, oh, it's not going to do well because it doesn't look pretty on the shelf. You need to add xanthan gum. No, we're not, because that's not in the original recipe.
Mm.
So we've
Mm-hmm.
had years of just sticking to what we know. We've listened to people and made different versions. So you see here we have original, sweet and spicy, ghost pepper, and gluten free. We also have a limited edition bourbon flavor that is made with actual bourbon, not bourbon flavoring. It's actual alcohol, but you can only get it off of our website.
Mm-hmm.
And then our spices, people had asked for the spices for a long time. But again, if we're going to put our name on it, we're going to get it right. So it
Mm-hmm.
took us 7 years, but we got it right.
Mm. There's a salient point that you just talked on, which is everybody had ideas or may have said, well, can you do this and can you do that? And you held to your guns. And again, in a space like this, it's easy to just kind of bend to what the market's asking for, right? Because there's an argument, right, when it comes to the business where the market is the market is the market. The market will
Mhm.
decide whether or not your product is really cutting the mustard. Check. However, back to the original conversation, right, of being able to face challenges, face adversity. I'm sure it's not hard. I'm sure it's hard to have questions like, can you do this or can you do that, and to be able to hold true, say no, that's not the intention that we had. However, we will make a version for XYZ, but the original is the original is the original. And I think there's something to be said to hold your guns despite an industry that can sway some, to where then the
Mhm.
opposite side of what happens is you just keep going with whatever everybody tells you, and now you dilute yourself because you can't please everyone. And the reality
And you
is,
don't
hey,
have your own identity.
yes, yes, no, I love that. I think this is amazing. I have to ask immediately, what is your favorite flavor?
Well, I will tell you a secret, David.
Uh oh, wait,
I'm allergic to pepper.
what?
I know.
This is so much even better because now you have to have a chief tasting officer and all that's in place. Oh
I'm
no.
so Yeah. So my palate is kind of lame in that way. I
Mm-hmm.
just But when we have tasting, so this is how our family comes together in this company. He had 5 children, and 3 of them are still living, and they are the quality assurance reps. That's their
Mm-hmm.
title. And when we have a first production, so say for instance, I say we're going to make a gluten-free version, we're going to use tamari, which is gluten-free soy sauce, so we can have the gluten-free version. It might taste slightly different, but we need you to be there to try it. So one of them is always there to try a new flavor to make sure that it's up to the standards of the Farrell family. And I enjoy having them having their feedback in that way. And also, I also try every single flavor. I take a ton of Benadryl and show up completely high, um, but I get the job done.
You know what I love about this, and again, it's all in good jest. But I think of that image with Martin, where he has the sitcom TV show, and he has the allergic reaction, and he goes to the store, and his face is all swelled up because he's having an allergic reaction. But it's funny just the fact that you're like, look, I already know what this is going to do to me, but even then, I'm going to push through, and I'm going to get in there. And I think it just shows a whole nother level of like, look, regardless of the fact of me having this, I'm still having to taste it. I know what it tastes like. Don't get it twisted. But I can't be partaking all the time either.
Yeah, I can't tell you in good, I can't tell you in good faith to try something that I haven't even tried.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm glad I don't have an anaphylactic reaction that would
Yeah.
prevent me from trying it. But, it's almost like it feels like if someone gave you something scalding hot, like instead of it being warm,
Mm-hmm.
pepper, it's scalding hot to me.
Okay.
So I take the Benadryl to like dull the pain level. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
make it go away, but it makes it bearable enough. And
Yes.
ours aren't nuclear hot either. They aren't. So people who can eat pepper, they know that it's not nuclear. Even the ghost pepper is bearable. We're more about flavor than we are
Gotcha.
the
What is one of the, I guess, your top selling flavors that people just love? Like that's the one that just flies off the shelf.
the sweet and spicy is actually the original recipe.
Okay.
And I don't even tell people, and they'll pick out the sweet and spicy. Oh, that one's good. As for me, it's like the running invisible joke with me and my granddad that I made the original blue label and took out the pepper so I could have it. Selfishly, I called it the original as a back and forth with my family because they're like, that's not the original recipe. I'm like, well, it's the only one I can have. So
Yeah.
all of the original. But the sweet and spicy is the best seller. It's the original recipe. Our spices that just came out, we sell as a 3-pack, but I tell you, we've got a lot of great reviews on the garlic ghost pepper because people wanted something they could add to their sauces to make them a little punchier. And the garlic ghost pepper is,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think a good additive. So you just add those. You can add those to any food, or you could add it to any flavor mutt sauce to create a new flavor of mutt sauce.
Okay. Okay. And that's awesome. I love, and then the ease, everything here for folks to be able to add to the cart using Apple Pay, so everything pretty much is good to go there. Quick announcement. So what we're actually doing on our side for those that are viewing, obviously, comment below in where you're seeing this in the main screen. You saw us obviously having the branch of service and the times you've served, but we're going to be picking one of our viewers. We're purchasing as we speak already 10 of these bad boys. So we're purchasing already a quantity to be able to give them away to our viewers as well. So we got some mud sauce for you all. So more to follow. Make sure you're commenting. So we'll go ahead and get that to you. So Amy's already on the interwebs handling that piece there. But there's an amazing thing here too. But so again, this is amazing. I love everything about what you have going on and how you've been able to take this vision and make it real. But there's so much more also because looking at specifically your own journey, you've also used this as a platform to be able to do other things,
Yeah.
specifically being able to speak up and and hold space. Talk to me a little bit about your own endeavors because it's not like being in the military was enough for you. Starting a company wasn't enough for you. Being a mom is not enough for you. Being awesome sauce, pun intended, right, isn't enough for you. You also said, you know what, I'm going to step out there and I'm going to hold some space. And again, what's to me amazing is top left for those that obviously can see it, right? Air Force veteran, TEDx speaker, award-winning entrepreneur, seasoned brand ambassador, Girl Scout Gold Award winner. But really, what I see here, and again, we keep it real, is I see one of our own. that is stepping up to hold space for people to be able to have something to reference. I think that it's powerful to see women, especially coming into this month, being able to be highlighted for what they do. So I want to honor the work that you're doing, but also beyond that, the example you're giving to little girls that look like you. So like my daughter, to minorities that have the ability to speak up and say, hey, I recognize so and so. Oh, wow, she's up there doing this stuff like that. I can't do that stuff. There's just no way. Come on, Charlynda. I'm just a little girl from fill in the blank. There's no way that I'm gonna have a business. There's no one wants to hear my story. Give a TEDx speech. Come on now. Talk to me a little bit about that, because again, that's what I receive when I see this, and I just wanted to want to give you your flowers because of what you're doing, but more so, it's the legacy and the impact to those that are coming after you. Talk to me a little bit about this.
Yeah, well, what I tell little girls is there was only one you made for a reason, because you're the only one who can be and is qualified to be you.
Mm,
And that is a high qualification.
mm,
That is the highest of qualifications. You're made in a perfect image for a perfect plan. And the quicker that people realize that, the faster they get to their purpose, to
yes.
executing their purpose. And that's why I want to help people get to that moment that they realize that they have a gift and know what that gift is and to walk in it. And it's a journey. And I still tell people I'm very transparent. Sometimes I give really great hypocritical advice, because where I recognize things that are great as you know checklist items that they should be doing, I'm not always doing those things in my own life,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm in the process of doing them in my life. I don't say something as a person who's attained perfection or has accomplished all the things. I'm a work in progress. I'm learning alongside of you.
Mm,
And I humble myself as someone who just wants to share everything that I've learned. I don't think that you should hoard information. I don't think you should hoard your gift to yourself. I think it
mm,
is for you to freely give, and that's what I focus on. So all the organizations and the speaking that I do is just to hammer home that point, that you are so gifted and you have so much to give to this world, and I want to unlock you. That's all I want to
mm-hmm.
do, is be a person with the key or part of the puzzle to help you get there, to help you realize that, for to help you the light bulb to come on.
Yes. I love this quote here. I don't want to talk about success. I want to talk about purpose. And a parallel to this that I've kind of ad nauseum have talked with individuals is moving with intention, moving with purpose, right? Not with the expectation of what may come, but of the fact that I'm coming to this space today to hold space with Charlinda, and just the intention of creating something amazing and beautiful and powerful to help pay it forward. And that means that it will be what it will be. And sometimes, to that same quote here, the success part for some, it's the destination, but they miss the journey. And the purpose and the intention is the journey. Every day that you stand up, every day that you have an obstacle, you go through what you go through, it's part of that journey. And I think that's what we miss sometimes, because success is subjective depending on who you ask, right? It's not for the accolades, and it's not for the, hey, look at me, look at the success, or look at what our revenues are, or any of those things. Those things will come because of the work you put into it, right? When it's all said and done, right? Like many of us in the military, we came into the military, we didn't know how to PT too well, but at some point we got fairly good at it. And the reality is that the reason we got fairly good at it is because we did the work. Right, we were up at dark 30. We had to do the work. We had to put in the body, stress and pressure, and eat, and eventually you got a product. But it's not about the product at the end; it's the process that got us there, and trying to enjoy that journey. But to this point here, I just love how you phrase this here about really just focusing on purpose and unlocking folks, because that's what we need more of. It's easy to say, show me the success at the end, show me the Instagram pictures, but talk to me about the process. Talk to me about the realization that some days, you know what, you may not feel like $1 million, even if you may have $1 million. And that's just back to the point of being humble and holding space, and not getting wrapped up, I guess, in the fanfare that, comes at times. But here on this this site specifically, you have some of the different things that you've done. Obviously, being a business owner, you've met some people. You've met some people. You've been blessed to hold some space with some folks. I see here.
Yeah, it's been
Um,
a
mhm.
journey. And yours as well. I want to thank you for your service, David. And I can't even imagine how the challenges that you've overcome on your journey. But ultimately, success gets redefined. So it's not our place to say, follow steps one, two, and three, and you will be successful.
Mhm.
When been through everything that we've been through, sometimes that's just like, I want a peace of mind. I just want,
Yes.
you know, I just want my family to be okay. I just want to make it through the day.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't need $1 million, and then you have all these gurus saying, "Oh, you can make $1 million." Well, is that is that
Like
going to make
like.
people respect you? I mean, is that going to make your marriage stronger? Is that
Mhm.
is what is that going to do?
Yes.
So it's just it's not our place to define what that is for people, but maybe if they learn their purpose, their life will be fulfilled, and that's
Yes.
the thing. I just want them to have a fulfilled life. They accomplished what they're here to do.
There's a point. There's something you said, Charlene, which I think is a powerful point to go back to very quickly, which is using the talent that you have. For those who are versed in the Bible, right? They may have read a parable or two about those given a talent, right? One held it, one hid it, one buried it, one made it with it, made a point and paid it forward. And at the end, when the master came back, it's like, well, what did you do? What I gave you, all right? And removing, where people may sit here, the principle really in the take-home message of that is we all have a gift. What we do with the gift, we almost have a duty to use it and plant it and be able to put it to work versus what some may do, which is hide it or neglect it. And that's not the purpose of that. Again, I love how you said, every person watching this, every little girl, little boy, has been made in the specific image they were made to be, unique to themselves with their own fingerprint, with their own individuality that has goodness and love and the ability to grow to be something special. And to hold that back, that's the problem. Like, no, you have to let that go. You have got to let the world see who you are, and everything else will fall into place. And I think that to a degree is part of the success that you've experienced of literally just like you were told as a child, right? Like, if you're going to do this, you're going to do this all the way. You don't do this at all. And you have to just show up and hold space, and the rest began to fall into place. And some might say luck, but no, it's preparation met with time. And being in your purpose, understanding where you're supposed to be, and just doing it. So it's inspirational to show this, and for those seeing here charlindagene.com, you'll see information on what she does, her speaking engagements, information that you can find out, some of the great collaborations. If you want to book her as well, here's the link. So you can say, this is how you do that, how you do that right here. The first site, muttsauce.com, again, where you'll find some of the best sauce, and you'll see here the history of how we got here with the namesake as well. 1956. Go ahead and put some respect on it. This isn't an overnight success. This is years in the making. But we also have our Instagram folks out there, so I want to make sure that we all show you that Mutt Sauce at Instagram is where you'll be able to find all the good stuff that's happening, images, updates, follow along for the journey. Here you have more great things you can see, success stories. I love it. My eyes just go over here to the family portrait on this side of the house. I just love this. That's where my eyes just kind of went to immediately here. What are we looking at here? Talk to me.
So our family has served in every single branch except for the Coast Guard,
Mm.
and this is a representation of those branches. On the left are my cousins. So the top left is my cousin Dewan. He was a Marine. In the middle is my uncle Chuck. He is in the Army. And lower left is my uncle Dwayne, who was in the Navy. And then my grandfather and I were in the Air Force.
I love it. I love it. This is just
Still
it's
trying to find my OC though.
so it's they're in this somewhere.
And I
Um,
guess Space Force now. So
Space Force. We literally have been looking for someone who can potentially kind of join us for the Space Force. We're going to try to put together a panel for women in service this month. And it's like, okay, we have most of the boxes checked, but I don't think we have Space Force.
I'll keep my eyes peeled if I find one.
Yes. Um, so what so now kind of shifting a little bit, Charlynda, talk to me a little bit about, or rather for those out there who, we've talked about purpose and kind of owning your why and, the lessons of your generations and, how you've been able to take that, I wouldn't say that weight, but that legacy and done something with it. And one of the things I'm real passionate about is legacy. And especially in the veteran community, I think that what we've been missing is a true identity of a tribe, of a community. And what happens many a times, as you may have seen, is many of our veterans are disenfranchised. They served, they leave service, and there's a time where it's like, I'm not wearing anything military, I'm letting my hair grow, and I'm just kind of removed from service right now. And
Yeah.
that camaraderie, that community is what many people miss. Not so much maybe the service of doing the job, but really the things that got us through, which was our battle buddies, our fellow airmen, our fellow sailors, army men, the Marines, and so forth. Those things made life amazing for many of us when we went into this lifestyle as young individuals. We leave service, many of them may have not had a positive one, right? We have to be honest and realistic that many individual service may have not been as good as others. Some may have experienced trauma. We have women have experienced military sexual trauma or different types of traumatic events that may have happened or outright racism. There's so many things that our community has experienced. So some are hurting. Some feel completely detached. Some feel they're not honor. They don't have the honor of having the acronym of being a veteran because of their own psychological perspective of their service. And I think part of what I've been trying to preach here, in the Veterans Network community we have, which again, Charlynda and I've said it many a times, Clubhouse is where we met on an app that folks are sleeping on. I would encourage folks to get in there. Veterans Network, the biggest veteran club and clubhouse at the moment, which is amazing and a testament to all of you watching, supporting. But I will say that our community needs to have a reset to a degree. And when I think of legacy, I think we have different individuals in a tribe, right? We have our sentries, who are those young airmen, those young soldiers. But we sometimes don't give honor to those older veterans. And I love what you're doing with your company because the legacy of your grandfather, because he is an elder, right? And I think in our community as veterans, we don't have that or recognize that. And when I say it, some people think like, what do you mean an elder? I'm like, no, think about it. If you had a tribe, you did your service, there comes a time where you come up off that post and now you become something else in the community. But every so often you see that there's that old warrior who's an elder who may not move as fast as he used to move, and he may be sitting by the corner, he may have a cane, but he's seen some stuff and the scars on his body tell stories. And
Yeah.
we have lost that legacy that the young century needs. You might be 17 and you might be young and you might have all the ambition in the world, but that 70-year-old man over there, that 60-year-old woman over there, they've seen some stuff. And they have a lesson and they have something to impart to you that'll make it better and easier for you to go through what you must go through, which I think, and I've said this many a times, but I'm mentioning it again because your journey realistically is to a degree of fulfillment of that in your life. By having that legacy of service, you've had that deposit into your life of like, look, if you're going to do this, you have to do it all the way. You don't. Make sure you watch for your flank and your six. And those are things that at the moment it's like, okay, whatever. But the reality is your elders, your family, they spoke life into you that gave you the tools to be able to be more dynamic and move further ahead in your purpose, that absent that you would have still made it, but there's how many headaches that were saved because you had that deposit into your life. So I say this to say that Charlynda's journey to me is synonymous with my passion of understanding that as veterans, we need you. You may think that you are not a part of this community. You may think that you're disconnected from us. And the reality is you're not. With technology, we have the ability to hold space like this. And like I said in the beginning, there's a punchline. It doesn't matter if Charlynda or I are successful. We're not different than you. We are exactly like you, have the same abilities as you. The difference is we're standing here holding space to say, hey, we can do this. We can have our abilities to be successful and support each other because we have a bond that connects us as veterans. And I think as we build our tribe and we start to recognize many of you who may have felt disenfranchised or someone who you share this with to say, hey, the story of Mud Sauce is amazing. Charlynda's story is amazing. Her family service is amazing, but the reality is this is our collective legacy. My legacy is Charlynda's legacy. Charlynda's legacy is my legacy. And if we look at it that way, it changes the perspective to say, your legacy out there is mine too. And I want to see you succeed. We want to see you succeed. And that's where Charlynda says the unlocking power of being able to pay it forward. So in the beginning, we gave you the punchline. Well, here it is again, and you didn't see it coming.
I love it. I love it because that's exactly what we're supposed to be doing. I know multiple branches have this mantra of one team, one fight, and we just need to translate that to the civilian sector. When our veterans are becoming civilians, we need to let them know it's still one team, one fight. But
Mm,
you have to be audible about what fight are you fighting.
yes.
Don't try to do this by yourself. Don't think that you're the only one going through this. There's other people going through the same thing. Don't look
Mm,
at me and just be like, I've had multiple people as civilians and say, "Oh, she's like 25. Well, she doesn't know." I had a guy berate me because I parked in the disabled veterans parking spot, and I
mm.
said, "I'm 70% disabled. I'm not going to argue with
With
you about
you,
it,
right.
but I will let you know that I have every right to park here."
Mm,
And he just couldn't wrap his brain around it.
mm-hmm,
You know, look, yeah, well, our veterans are actually a lot younger than you think.
mm-hmm.
Um, and women serve too. And yes, not all the scars that people carry are not visible.
Hello.
We have to do our part, one, to tell people about our collective struggles. We
Yes.
cannot hold this stuff to ourselves. If we're going to improve the situation for our transitioning veterans, we have to be upfront and open about it.
Yes.
um,
Oh, there you go.
and we also have to let people know. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Hello?
Yeah, I see you.
Oh, I got hung up just
Just
a
a little
little
bit.
bit.
No, we got
Second.
you.
Okay, and we also have to let them know that you don't have to start from ground zero. Like, we've been in business, and many of us have been in business. We can't get so full of ourselves. We're like, oh, well, I'm at this level now.
Mm,
There's no job. We learned that there's no job that's beneath you.
yes.
And at one point, you were grinding. Some of us are still grinding. Don't fake the funk. You're not sitting next to a Bugatti. Let
Hello.
them know that you're working
And you're
to
pushing it
take care of
through.
your family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, let them know where your priorities are.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's about being real too, right? Because some folks want to fake the funk, fake it till you make it, and that edifies nobody. That benefits no one. I think the power is in being real and being open and saying, "Look, Charlinda, we struggling, but we still here." And there's something to be said with us being here. I wanted to add to what Charlinda just said, which is, regardless of what branch of service any of you served, there was never, and again, I'm Army, but I'm also a proud graduate of the Command and Staff College of the Marine Corps. So I spent some time with the USMC over at Quantico at the Command and Staff College there. And I will tell you that if we were operational right now and we were conducting warfare, I would have no problem, right, calling in for air support if we needed it. If we were being pinned down and we needed naval power to come and do their thing, we'd call that. If we needed reinforcements or we needed a unit to kind of, link up with ours because we're pinned down, we would have no problem calling that in. So in service, we learned how to use a mic. We learned how to call in and give that grid coordinate of, hey, I'm here, I'm pinned, me and Charlinda, we're holding steady, but we're low on supplies, send in support, airstrike, this grid coordinate, send it. That was literally like the highlight of, man, I call that airstrike and you would not believe we brought the pain. Now, let me tell you, what difference is that if you're now pinned down with life
Yes.
and you don't see a way out? It's coming from the left, it's coming from the right, and you have it coming from the forward. You have the ability to call that air support. You can call someone. You can call for help, and you don't have to go it alone. You don't have to start from ground zero. You can say, Charlynda, can you sit with me right now? Right
Yeah.
now, I need you to cover me because I am out of ammo.
And our
Okay?
responsibility is to be the person that is dependable, and time. It's
Mm
not about not having time. There's no point where
hmm. Mm hmm.
I become too busy. There's no point where I become too busy. My cell phone works. And if it's 1 o'clock in the morning, so be it.
Pick it up. This is the heaviest thing you'll pick up right here. Because once you pick this up, hey, I need some support.
Yeah.
It's as easy as that. But I make the connection to service because in service, right, it'd be like, man, I'll call air support in a heartbeat. But in life, you need support. So reach out. You're not alone. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaway points from all this here. One question I have for you, Charlinda, for someone out there who may be thinking, you know what, everything sounds great, but you know what, who's going to want to listen to me? Or someone who may be out there or may have been dealt a blow, right? Got that sucker punch, the business idea didn't work, had as a setback, and they figure, you know what, I'm just going to fold them. What would you say to someone who may be in a low point right now, post service, who probably took a chance, but life happens, a setback, a delay in shipment, a discontinuation of something, COVID hit, you have to pivot, maybe they didn't pivot enough. What would you say to someone out there who may be struggling as they're trying to, find that purpose?
I would tell them, when you believe in something bigger than yourself, rock bottom has a trampoline.
Say it one more time for the people in the back.
When you believe in something bigger than yourself, rock bottom has a trampoline. And I took that from my rock bottom moment. People saw on the surface that I'd won the Bob Evans Award. It was a big national level award. And I had brought my husband at the time to the event. Everything at that point in my life was the top of the mountain. We were in all kinds of press. The very next week, I was leaving my marriage to an apartment with nothing in it. I had I was in Washington, D.C., miles away from my company, which was in Ohio. I'd stole a cot from the garage so I had something to sleep on in my empty apartment. And I ran my company in that empty apartment in like the worst emotional pain I've ever been in for 4 months. Then I had a surgery that went wrong. So I had so much pride that I didn't want people to know how much pain I was in, that I recovered from the surgery basically alone in the apartment. And I was in a lot of pain. I didn't want to tell people that I was in emotional and physical pain. And throughout that whole journey of being married, I dealt with 10 years of infertility. So I've dealt with so many rock bottom moments. And to see now the company doing well, about to celebrate my son's first birthday, having chosen to be a single mother, and it worked the first time I tried. That when you just believe, sometimes it's just the simple fact of believing that your situation can and will get better, that it is a self-fulfilling prophecy, that it does. And my mom gave me a simple bit of advice. She said, if the day is going so bad that all you want to do is cry in your pillow, close the door to your bedroom, go to your room, cry your eyes out. Just cry as hard as you can till your eyes feel like they're about to bleed and pop out and roll across the floor. And she said, you're going to feel such a relief. Your body's going to get so relaxed. She said, take a nap, sleep to the next day if you have to. But when you open your eyes, When every day you open your eyes is someone breathing purpose into your life. You are supposed to be here. So be here. And that was the advice that I followed. There was probably about 6 months of just cry my eyes out, but get up the next day. Cry your eyes out, get up.
Mm,
And eventually you don't have to cry anymore.
mm.
And eventually things get better. But
I,
you have to keep going. You have to keep going.
that's that's the glacier aspect that no one sees, right? You know how you have those images of the glacier and all the stuff that's under it that nobody sees underwater. Um, Thank you for sharing that, because again, those moments are the moments that nobody would have known. The
Yeah.
business and everything is fine and things are moving and shipments are moving and fill in the blank is good, good, good. But unbeknownst to us, there's an empty house on the cot.
Yeah.
There's
And
there's
and in the midst of that, they put me on the cover of Military Spouse magazine that was all over the world.
Hey, I saw you on the cover, man. Congrats! And you're like,
Everybody was yes, all over the world. I was getting text messages of people taking pictures with the magazine.
mm-hmm.
I'm in the MPF girl. I swear I just saw your
I
face
just saw
on the
your face, and the whole time there's this
wall.
wound and all that salt just being thrown right on it.
And I was just like, wow. But you know what? The editor, I called her and I said, don't put my face on this. This is what's happening. She's like, oh, I'm going to do it. And let me tell you why. She said, because this is bigger than you. She said,
Wow.
this is bigger than you because I'm trying to show rather than tell the narrative that military spouses are more than 60s housewives that have dinner on the table by 7 and take care of the kids and just wait on the guy to come home from his deployment. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you're more than that. You're running companies, you're starting movements, you're starting nonprofits, you're doing all these things. And I want to start celebrating that aspect of the military spouse. That's why I'm rebranding, and that's why you're still going to be on the cover. And whatever you do, you just keep going. And that's where that I got that.
Mm.
I internalized that as if you believe in something bigger than yourself, if you remove your own woes and get off yourself, like then this rock bottom moment has a trampoline
Wow.
and it'll get better. And I actually became encouraged by people sharing those photos because it was some of them would say, oh, wow, I didn't know that they cared about us being entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Or now I feel more confident to share that I have this business that I want to start. Or I know a mill spouse that I can email her and ask her how she did X, Y, or Z.
Mm.
So you never know how your testimony is a catalyst for someone else's life. Someone has something that they need to do. And the match, the flame that's going to light that is you telling the story about when you were in Iraq or when you were in service. They just need to hear it.
Yes.
No more than that. Nothing really magical. Just they need to hear your story.
Yes. And I think that's powerful because it goes back to the beginning things we talked about, which is the intention, right? It's literally our intention is to come into the space and hold space and be able to create something to pay it forward. And at times we might not feel like it. Not every day you feel like I'm paying it forward and I'm blessing someone's life. But the fact is, even when you don't feel it, that is at play. And those magazines, the cover, even if you were, bloodshot, red eyes, crying like, man, today's the last day I want to hear this message of congrats, this, that, or third. But it was doing the work that was bigger than you. And I think that's a good point because it kind of resets the reality of this is who we are in the grand scheme of things, and there's so much more out there that we are a part of, but to hold that back we limit so many others. So I love the quotes and the kind of points that you've shared. As we start kind of wrapping up here, I always kind of say this is the first video conversation we've had. We've been able to hold rooms and be together on Clubhouse and speak with folks. But it's not the last conversation because there's so much more to do and so much more work that has to be done. But I think this is a great introduction into the amazing work that you are doing beyond just a product, but a story of legacy, a story of service, an example to others out there, being able to rolling your purpose. And because of that, all good things are coming to you because of that, because you're in your zone, you're in your purpose. And as an example, especially with everything you've shared, that despite separation, despite setbacks, despite failures that some would say, these are all just challenges and roadblocks along the way as you're moving and navigating this thing called life. But you're still here and you're still sharing your story and you're speaking up, and whether it be on the stage or one-on-one or or a Starbucks coffee shop, you have a responsibility to pay that forward. So I appreciate you sharing your heart, being open, being vulnerable, and holding this space with me. But in closing, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. And again, like we said in the beginning, the punchline in all this stuff is that you can. I didn't know many of the things that Charlynda shared, but the point remains even more so now that if she can do it, if I can do it, you can do it. Because we're not better than you. We have the ability to lift each other up. And that's, to me, the most powerful thing of being able to relate to someone else and see that, hey, if you can have gone through all those things that would have shut down many people, right? My marriage is gone. I'm on a cover. I'm a hypocrite. I'm a lie. What am I? I'm a joke. All the thoughts that, would pollute your mind. But that message that even she gave you of saying, no, this is bigger than you. That is a reaffirmation of the bigger picture. So I would now say that to you all watching, regardless of what you're going through, it's bigger than you. And that thing that you're going through, it's not going to destroy you. It's going to make you stronger. It's going to give you the ability to move forward and have that as a toolkit so that tomorrow, just like Charlynda today shared her story, it might make a difference in somebody else's life who may not have the intestinal fortitude to push through, but your story of what you went through may give them that strength. Just like I know Charlynda's story hopefully is helping someone today who is hearing this wherever you may be. What are your closing thoughts for those folks out there, Charlynda?
And I believe in you. And if we haven't met before today, I'm glad to make your acquaintance. And I am available if you need me. You can just go to charlyndajean.com. The booking is also direct to my email. So you can send me a note and say, hey, this is what's on my mind, or I just want to talk out my idea, or you know what, I just need a sister to talk to. So
Mm,
let me know. And
I love it.
thank you, David. I love David, the name David anyway.
I wonder why do you love that name so much? That blessing that you have. Congrats on the first birthday coming along. Again, it's just just powerful stuff for sure. I appreciate your time. I'd look forward to more collaborations and us talking more, but I think this is definitely what was needed for the moment for us to be able to hold this space and be able to pay it forward for those that are watching. So definitely comment below. We're giving away some of the product from Mud Sauce, so stay tuned for that. That'll be coming out, so that's already been covered. So make sure you comment below your branch of service, time that you serve. We'll be picking folks from the audience to pay that forward to. So more to follow there. If you have questions, comments, concerns, you know how to find Charlynda. We've brought up the site. You can also comment wherever you see this, and we'll make sure that we relay the information as needed as well. So whether it be Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, we want to engage with you. We want to talk with you. This is a iterative conversation. So thank you for spending time with us. One-on-one profiles and audacity with Charlynda Scales, carrying a generation of good taste. An Air Force veteran brings the sauce and arguably has brought the boom and the hot sauce and all that today. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, David.
We will see you guys next time.